Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today.
What up, people? What up? What up? What up? What is going down? We are back. We are live. Sorry I had to take that 2-week break, man. I had some things to sort out that are still being sorted out, but they're sorted out enough to where I can, ease my mind a little bit and get back to doing these shows. So here we are with the long-awaited part 2. The long-awaited part 2 of the Epsteinfiles. That's right, because I had to re-listen to part 1 to kind of get a gist of where I needed to go with part 2, and I think I got it. Let me do a quick sound check really quick. Where I needed to go with part 2, and all right, so the Epstein files. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Trump being involved with Epstein, and Trump is in the Epstein files, and Trump's on the Epstein list and all this nonsense. And that's exactly what it is. It's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch it's a bunch of freaking nonsense because every mention of Trump in the Epstein files was the pedophiles talking about Trump, even so much so that they talked about Trump dropping a dime on him, Trump telling on him. Right, exactly. Pissed off cat. Trump snitched on Epstein. That's what the mentions of Trump in the Epstein files was. And the deep state and their operatives are busy, hard at work, and I've been watching them for the last 2 weeks, hard at work selling that Trump was involved with Epstein. And of course, the Democratic Party and their cohorts, they've also been pushing the same narrative, even though when they were in power for the last 4 years, prior to Trump's second term, they could have released the Epstein files and basically torpedoed Trump's entire 2024 campaign if it was that serious. But they knew that there was more incriminating evidence against them and their buddies than there was against Trump, because Trump was not in league with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. Trump never went to the island. Trump never got involved with Epstein. And when Trump had the opportunity to snitch on Epstein, he did just that. Now, the big elephant in the room that the whole Trump's down with Epstein crowd seems to ignore is the fact that if Trump was actually down with Epstein, why did he have him indicted? Because the previous presidents before Trump, they were down with Epstein and Epstein-like activities, and they made no mention of Epstein, no indictments, no nothing. But as soon as Trump comes into office, boom, Epstein's indicted. So what's that tell you? You know what I mean? And we discussed this in part one. And part two, we're going to get into the victims, the so-called Trump victims that are mentioned in the Epstein files, because this is the main part that the Trump is down with Epstein crowd seems to be. This is the main part that they seem to be hanging their hats on. This is the part that they're most fixated on. And what the general public needs to realize, what the general public doesn't realize, is these so-called Trump victims were questionable characters themselves. These were people who had shady pasts, shady dealings, were deeply embedded with the Democratic Party, and some were even financially motivated to do this, right? So the DOJ document, the publication pertaining to the Epstein files, even mentioned that not everything in the Epstein files is true and factual, because they also included in their production of the Epstein files, they also included statements given to them by members of the general public. Now, in considering this, there was about 36,000 people that came out and said they killed Tupac. You know what I'm saying? So that's just to give you an idea of how ridiculous things get when the general public is allowed to give their input in certain high-profile cases, and how easy it is to get misinformation, bad information, false information from the general public because, well, people lie. All right. But before we get started, make sure you guys go follow me over on Rumble. If you're not following me on Rumble, please make sure you do, in case they zap me over here on YouTube. And also follow me on the Citizen Man backup channel on YouTube, in case they zap me on Citizen Man TV. You could find me on Citizen Man. And of course, last but not least, if any of you guys out there feel so inclined to support the show, please feel free to do so by sending in a kind donation via Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo by using the tag scrolling across the screen in the banner below. The links that are pinned to the top of the YouTube chat in the black box where it says Citizen Man TV in yellow. Just click the yellow, the box opens up. All the links are there, and you can also find those very same links in the description box of every video on YouTube and Rumble. All right. So let's and I'm not sure if you guys can hear it in the sound quality, but I'm not in studio. So let's and I'm not sure. I'm not in studio right now because everything's under construction again. So let's get into the show. I'm sure you guys can hear me just fine anyway. So let's go ahead and do it. Now, the first interesting thing about the Epstein files that no one's really talking about is, well, Citizen Man was right again. Remember when I did all those streams back in 21 and 22, telling you guys about the fake Joe Biden presidency and that wasn't really Joe Biden and that Joe Biden had been dead since 2019? Well, guess what? Joe Biden was never the president of the U.S. Epstein files revealed he died in 2019 and was quietly replaced. So all this shit I've been telling you guys and showing you guys the side-by-side images of the fake Joe Biden and everything was true. It was true. And it took all these years and the release of the Epstein files for me to once again be vindicated. But I knew what I was talking about back then. And I've been vindicated now. And this is how these things go when you're in the truth circle. Sometimes the things you say and the information you put out, it sounds crazy at first, but give it a couple of years and more information comes out and the confirmation is always there. So now it's been confirmed that the real Joe Biden was not the one serving as president, just like I've been saying for those entire 4 years, that it's a fake presidency. And if you guys, some of you guys that might be new to the channel and unfamiliar with my content, if you go to my Rumble page and you go back to 2021, 2022 streams, you'll see a lot of fake presidency streams about the fake Joe Biden presidency. So the Epstein files vindicate Citizen Man once again. So how you like that? And here are some of the details. It says, hold on tight. This will shatter your reality. Newly unsealed Epstein documents under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, released by DOJ in 2026, drop a nuclear claim. Emails from 2021 allege the real Joe Biden was unalived by firing squad in 2019, then swapped with a quantum engineered clone or actor in a hyper-realistic mask. Proof: mask malfunctions caught on camera, secret military tribunals, and elite cover-ups tied to Epstein's network. Connect the dots. Epstein suicided August 2019. Same year Biden allegedly died. Biden's 2020 campaign? A scripted illusion. Post-2020 glitches, slurred speech, falls, odd behaviors, all signs of a failing replacement. Trump even shared similar theories on Truth Social in 2025. Biden executed in 2020, replaced by clones and robotic entities. Coincidence or insider knowledge? These files expose unfiltered tips to FBI, raw, unverified, but why include them if not to signal deeper truths? So there you have it, folks. It's been confirmed by the Epstein files that Biden was executed in 2019. And if he was executed by firing squad, of all things, if Biden was executed by firing squad, of all things, then that would mean that he was in military custody because it's the military that uses the firing squads. And that's a form of execution that they carry out. So when we talk about the mass arrest in the military tribunals, the confirmation of Joe Biden being executed by firing squad also confirms military arrests, military tribunals. So again, I was talking about this stuff years ago, and here we are several years later, and it's been confirmed. You got to love it. You got to love it. But this is why guys like me don't really get too many we don't get too many views, we don't get too much promotion, and we get suppressed in the algorithm because this is the stuff that they don't want people to know, because their agenda is to paint Trump out to be a bad guy. So any actions that Trump has taken against the actual bad guys, it's in their best interest to suppress it, to give the general public the impression that Trump isn't doing anything about these people. So when we hear about the Epstein files has been released, but there hasn't been any arrests and this and that, there's been arrests and there has been executions. So all those people claiming that no one's been arrested and none of Epstein's clients has been arrested, well, they don't know what they're talking about because, again, they're missing certain crucial facts that is causing them to have the wrong impression. Now, The latest major arrest was Prince Andrew. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but Prince Andrew got arrested in the wake of the release of the Epstein files. And Prince Andrew was one of the biggest high profile names mentioned in the Epstein files. So now we're going to start to see more people going down, more people heading for the hills, more people resigning, more CEOs disappearing. And in 2020, right after the execution of Joe Biden in 2019, we saw thousands of CEOs stepping down from their positions. And when you look up the federal law on, CEOs and what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, it turns out that you cannot serve if you're under a federal indictment or some sort of criminal investigation. You cannot serve on a corporate board in any capacity. And guess what the CEO is? The chief executive of the corporate board, the board of directors, right? The chief executive officer of the company. So when you see all these CEOs stepping down, that was your first indicator that these people were being either arrested or they were being brought under criminal investigations. You see what I'm saying? So that's how that works. And when you understand the law and how the law works, you'll begin to see the patterns and see the behaviors and see the actions being taken by these suspects and be able to put two and two together based on your knowledge of how the laws work. Like, for example, knowing the federal law that prohibits individuals from serving on corporate boards in America if they're under criminal investigations. Well, when you see all those CEOs stepping down, that makes it clear that, well, something's going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Credit to Ben says, Citizen Man, been waiting to ask you, what do you feel about that post on Trump's Twitter account about Obama and Michelle as apes? I voted for Trump, but that threw me all the way off. I haven't seen it, but this wouldn't be the first time Trump's done some distasteful shit. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, I'm not even mad at him. I'm not even mad at him because between Barack Obama and Michael Robinson, aka Michelle Obama, they did do a lot of monkey ass shit while they were in office. Like Michelle Obama changing the food pyramid to the dinner plate with the gay man food, the loose booty diet for the school kids, and then Obama, riding the wave of being the first black president, but then doing everything to favor the LGBTQ community. That was some monkey ass shit. I'm sorry, but I really don't care. You know what I'm saying? I really don't care. If that bothers you, hey, I can understand why it bothers you. It doesn't bother me none because, well, when you're dealing with enemies of the Republic, the gloves come off. You know what I'm saying? And the way Barack Obama ran this country into the ground and introduced and started like popularizing the whole gay thing, that actually opened the door for these pedophiles in the public schools to become emboldened to try to start sexualizing our children out in the open. You know what I'm saying? So I got no love for Barack Obama because he was the one that spearheaded that whole movement that now got us to the point where literal sexual convicted sex offenders who are grown men pretending to be women have access to our children thanks to the city officials and these school board officials, and it's literally putting our children in danger. Now you got grown men pretending to be women in the ladies' bathrooms waving their dicks at little girls. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Barack Obama, for that monkey ass shit. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, it might be a little distasteful to see a white man calling black people monkeys, but who are these black people, and are they some monkey ass motherfuckers for real? That's the question you need to be asking. Now, let's say it was Clarence Thomas or even Jesse Jackson. I don't even like Jesse Jackson like that, but rest in peace to Jesse Jackson. Let's say it was something like that against those people like those guys, right? I'd be a little more offended. Why? Because there ain't too much monkey ass shit that I could put on them to say they fucked our country up. You see what I'm saying? But when it comes to Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, not only did they create Gallup inflation, set the stage for the open borders, but they also pushed the LGBT shit so far that the pedophiles became emboldened. They emboldened the pedophiles. to come out in the open and start trying to groom our children openly in front of our faces and play victim every time they got called out for it. So if that ain't some monkey ass shit, I don't know what is. But at the same time, I respect your position and I respect your feelings on the matter. We don't have to agree on it, but we don't have to be at each other's throats about it either. You know what I'm saying? It's a matter of your own personal interpretation and your own personal feelings about it. And the way I feel about it is the two of them was two gay ass monkey ass motherfuckers that fucked the country up, and they deserve. Calling them monkeys is actually disrespectful to monkeys, to be honest with you, because they should be called worse than that. Cherokee says, "Hey, Citizen Man, Trump posted a whole video about voting, and at the end, the monkey video popped up and then cut off. Now the monkey video was a whole Lion King video. Joe Biden was a monkey too. Yeah, all them Democrats, bunch of monkey ass motherfuckers. All of them. And John Jackson says that was the next video up on Twitter, the year-old Lion King video, fake outrage. And see, that's why I don't really, you know what I'm saying? I don't really care about that kind of shit. It's trivial, to say the least. It's trivial. Now, major bombshell, Ted Lieu, another Democrat, says the full unreleased Epstein files show Donald Trump raping children. That's what's being hidden. That's why the files stay sealed. That's why there are no arrests. Release everything, let the truth come out, or resign. But here's the thing, Ted Lieu. The files have been released, all 3.5 million pages of it. So where in it does it say Donald Trump was raping children? It doesn't, and he's lying. And that's what these Democrats have been doing this entire time. And their cohorts on YouTube have been parroting that same false narrative and that same lie, because what we're looking at is an orchestrated deception. Hence, part 2, the Epstein files, dissecting the orchestrated deception, right? That's what it is. It's an orchestrated deception. And it's working. It seems to be working quite well, because when you have so many different people repeating the same lie to audiences that are ignorant to the actual facts, the lies tend to carry some weight. The lies tend to hold some weight. Hold on a second. I'm trying to fix the title. Okay, I think it's fixed. Yeah, I was trying to fix the title in StreamYard because I noticed it said Epstein Files in one word. Trying to double check to make sure that it's been fixed, but it hasn't. Let me see. Give me a second here. Yeah. Guess I'll just fix it after the show. Fuck it. And somebody just hit the Cash App. Shout out to Sarah for the Cash App. She says, I don't have money to spare, SMH. Well, if you don't have money to spare, you don't have to, give away the little bit that you got. But I do appreciate that support, my sister. I do appreciate that. That's awesome. But yeah, they've been repeating the same lie to their audiences who they know are ignorant to the facts, who they also know. I think Ted Lieu is a Democrat from California, and he's a Chinaman. And that's another thing I noticed about the Democratic Party. They are packed full of foreigners. You notice that? A bunch of people from foreign countries with dual citizenship here in America, serving in our government, making our laws against Americans and telling us what we should do, how we should think, and how we need to be moving in our own country. And that I find to be extremely distasteful, because as Americans, we should be offended by that. You know what I'm saying? We should be offended by the fact that these foreigners come over here from these shithole countries and try to tell us what to do and how to live our lives. I don't like that. because my family, I come from a family of foreigners too, family of immigrants, and I'm a naturalized citizen and I grew up in this country and I love this country and I respect this country for what it is. And I am so thankful and grateful that we have a constitution. And because of the constitution, I'm able to say things and I'm able to do things that I'm not able to do in other countries. And I'm grateful for that. I don't want to change that. And I don't want to see that changed. And I take offense to other foreigners who come over here, take advantage of the freedoms that we have here, but then at the same time try to strip those freedoms away from Americans who've been here for generations. I find that to be extremely disgusting. And isn't it the Democratic Party were the ones calling for censorship? Right? Banning our First Amendment, the Democratic Party calling for gun control, banning our Second Amendment. And under Obama, they were trying to create a gun registry and subvert the Fourth Amendment. Then in some cities, you got idiot cops running around arresting people who don't want to answer their questions, pissing on the Fifth Amendment. And that pisses me off. That upsets me. That angers me. And it angers me because these people have no idea how bad this country would get if we didn't have a constitution. When they come from countries that don't have the same constitutional protections and they've seen how bad it's gotten. That's how they ended up over here. That's why they ran over here. So it's like they allowed their own country to turn to a shithole where the people have no rights, and then they run to America for the rights afforded to them, and then try to take away those rights from the American people and turn America into the very same shithole they ran from. And it makes no sense to me because there's no logic behind that way of thinking. But when you consider the fact that these people are on the payroll and they're being bribed to push these policies, then it all starts to make sense. They're not doing it because this is what they believe in. They're doing it because this is what they're being paid to do. You see what I'm saying? And it's absolutely disgusting because to have a president that's finally, interested in building up America for Americans, right? Creating jobs, bringing back manufacturing, lowering taxes, fixing the economy so people can live more comfortably. To see an entire political party of foreigners sit there and try to disparage the man and undermine his efforts, it's a slap in the face to every American. And the only people that should be voting for these Democrats are the illegal aliens that vote illegally, and absolute morons that have no idea how good they got it in America. Those are the only people that should be voting for this political party, because this political party is anti-American. They're anti-Constitution. They only cry about the Constitution when it's convenient for them. And the worst part is with these ICE raids, they're claiming, oh, ICE needs a warrant to go into people's houses to make arrests and da da da. No, they don't, because foreign nationals who are not legally permitted to be in the United States, who don't have legal status in the United States, do not have constitutional protections. Thus, ICE doesn't need a warrant to kick in your fucking door, because the need for a warrant is stipulated in the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. But if you're a foreign national here in the country illegally and you're not afforded constitutional protections, ICE don't need no damn warrant to kick in your door because you're not protected by the Fourth Amendment. So all this crying that the liberals are doing, that, oh, they're not giving them due process and they're entering homes without warrants and this and that, it's all nonsense, because this is the same group of people that were trying to ban the First Amendment with their censorship, trying to ban the Second Amendment with their gun control, trying to ban your freedom, you know what I'm saying, your right to remain silent by having you arrested for not answering questions. These are the same people now all of a sudden crying about constitutional protections, when they didn't care about constitutional protections when flat earthers were getting censored and when Trump supporters and conservatives were getting censored. They were cheering it on and advocating for it. So you can miss me with all that Fourth Amendment bullshit, Because it's funny how when it comes to American citizens, they don't want us to have constitutional protections. But when it comes to illegal aliens, foreign nationals who reside in the country illegally, all of a sudden they get constitutional protections. Yeah, you can miss me with that shit. You can kiss my ass with that shit. Now, it's a dirty game that we're playing. It's a dirty game and a dirty ass system. And the system is so dirty that if you don't play dirty with them, you get alienated, you get ostracized, you get blackballed, and you get robbed of any opportunity to advance yourself or your personal agenda. You basically get kicked out of the club. And Dame Dash is a prime example of that. And a lot of people be hating on Dame and talking shit about Dame and all that, but I respect Dame Dash. And I respect Dame Dash for one reason and one reason only. People call him an asshole and say he's arrogant and this and that, but you know what? He was arrogant before he had money. He was arrogant when he had money. And now that, those days are past and he's struggling, he's still the same Dame Dash. He never changed who he was. And that is worthy of respect. And also, he never played the sexual pervert games either. Dame Dash was handling these creeps. Yes, it has been widely reported that Dame Dash smacked Harvey Weinstein during a dispute on the set of the 2002 film Paid in Full. The incident was confirmed by various people associated with the production, including members of the diplomats, and acknowledged by Dame himself. You see? And Dame Dash was never down with the perverts. And he was running around slapping the shit out the perverts. Now look at him. He's blackballed. He can't get on any major networks, can't get any major deals. He's constantly getting sued. And they're trying to destroy the man. Why? Because they want to take away his voice. Because here's how Dame Dash got famous. When Dame Dash partnered up with Jay-Z in the beginnings of Rockefeller, Dame Dash actually took Jay-Z to all these different record labels to try to get Jay-Z a record deal. None of the record labels wanted to sign Jay-Z. So he tried to play the game with the establishment and go through the establishment channels to put his man on, and the establishment shut the door on him. So him, Jay-Z, and Kareem Biggs Burke, who was their third silent partner, decided to take all the dope money that they was making in the streets, put it together, and form their own record label and be independent. This is how Rockefeller Records came to be. And this is why Jay-Z, Dame Dash, and Kareem Biggs Burke were the founders and owners of Rockefeller Records. They started their own shit because the establishment wouldn't open any doors for them. And I admire that about Dame because he took Rockefeller Records to heights that no other CEO I should say, very few other CEOs were able to do with their own independent labels. And not only that, but he was a firm believer in putting his brothers on. So every artist that got signed to Rockefeller, when they would come in groups, that group would get their own company. And just like Beanie Siegel had State Property, Cameron had the Diplomats. Who else? There was a couple others. I can't remember everybody because there's so many of them. But I admire that about Dame Dash. He was about networking, and he always had a philosophy that, you know what, I don't want to be the richest friend. I want all my friends to be rich. So if I ever go broke, I can borrow a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, and be back on. And it's a foolproof plan. But you see, the establishment didn't like that. The establishment doesn't want independence and self-sustainability. You see what I'm saying? The establishment wants you to be dependent on them so they can control you. And they couldn't control Dame Dash. That's why they blackballed him, and that's why they treat him the way that they treat him now. So all that propaganda and hype that you hear about, Dame Dash being broke and being a bum and being a loser and this and that, I don't buy none of it. I don't buy none of it. Even if Dame had to go back to the streets and back to drug dealing to maintain his lifestyle, guess what? He's maintaining, and he's got a nicer house than most of us do. So it's hard for me to sit here and talk shit about the man when he's reached the highest of heights, took the hardest of falls, but he's still on and he's still doing his thing. You got to respect it. And the fact that he took a stand against the perverts, it's worthy of even more respect. But I just wanted to mention that because the Dame Dash treatment is kind of what they're doing, what they've been doing to Trump since he's been president. Because remember, Trump made his own money doing his own thing. Trump came in the political game and funded his own campaign. You see, just like how Dame Dash came in the music industry funding his own record label, Trump came in funding his own campaign, paying for his own private security instead of depending on government issue security. He actually deputized his own Trump organization security guys and made them his Secret Service because, well, the government issue Secret Service were the ones that helped kill JFK. And Trump wasn't about to go out like that. So there's some parallels there, and both men are worthy of respect because both men believe in independence and doing for self. Shout out to Sister Cherokee for the Cash App. She says, for keeping it real. Appreciate you, Cherokee. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I had to throw Dame Dash into this conversation because he's sort of like a microcosm of what Trump is. The only difference is Donald Trump had more resources and more money and stronger allies to help propel his political career, whereas Dame Dash was kind of left all alone because his friends turned their backs on him. And we could talk about, what the reasons were for that and Dame's own personal flaws as an individual, as a human being, and, things that he might have done to cause that, to bring that on himself and whatnot. But the whole point of the matter is when you're independent and you're not solely dependent on the system tends to reject you and they try to blackball you and squeeze you out of any circles of relevance or importance. And if they can't squeeze you out of any circles of relevance and importance, they try their best to turn the general public against you so you can't get any support. And that's exactly what they've been trying to do to Donald Trump. But it's much more difficult to do it to Trump because Trump has more credible allies. Now, when it comes to the whole Trump's down with Epstein crowd, Democrats like Jasmine Crockett, Democrats like Ted Lieu, Jasmine Crockett, and the rest of them, they are the main ones with the anti-Trump mantra. And when you look at who these people are associated and affiliated with, you'll see that they are not members of normal society, nor do they have the general public's best interest at heart. Here's Jasmine Crockett with Alexander Soros, George Soros' son. There she is again with Kamala Harris. This is not somebody that you would want to represent you because George Soros sees black people as pawns. And George Soros believes in using black people to keep sowing racial division in order to keep America divided. So to see this black woman posing for pictures with Alexander Soros and having her campaigns funded by George Soros should basically should raise some eyebrows for you and allow you to see her for the enemy of the people that she actually is. Because that's who these people are, enemies of the American people. And they get on TV and they get on camera and they do all the talking and the sister girl act and all this shit to try to make you believe that they're on your side and they're just like you. Jasmine Crockett grew up in a wealthy family, went to private school, and she speaks like a valley girl. And when you see her on camera and she's doing the whole sister girl, ghetto girl act, it's all an act. There's nothing authentic or real about it. And these are people that you should not put your faith and your trust in because these are the types of people that will betray you. How long has the Democrats been talking? How many election cycles have come and gone where you hear the Democrats talking about reparations? How many times have we seen and heard that? But how many black people have actually received reparations? Even after the 4 years of Democrats controlling Congress, controlling the Senate, and the presidency under Biden, no reparations for the Negroes. Why? Because they see you as political pawns and nothing more. They don't even see you as human beings that are worth proper representation. When the 2020 elections was kicking off and Ice Cube came up with the plan for Black America, he went to the Democratic Party, right? Because the Democratic Party is supposed to be the party for black people. He went to the Democratic Party to try to discuss the plan that he had for Black America to rebuild the Black economy and so on. And you know what the Democrats told him? They said, come back after the election. We'll talk to you. He went to the Trump campaign to talk about the plan that he had for Black people. And the Trump administration actually sat down with him and came up with the Platinum Plan, which included and incorporated everything that Ice Cube wanted for the black economy and for Black America. So when you talk about who's on the side of the people, it seems like the Trump campaign, the Trump administration are actually on the side of Black Americans, whereas the Democratic Party just sees Black Americans as as play toys that they can use to keep themselves in power. Also, the Democratic Party has been awfully gracious to these foreign nationals who came in here illegally, whereas the Republican Party, is mainly the Trump administration, has been systematically removing these people because they're undermining Black economic growth. So while the Democratic Party is trying to convince Black people to go out and support the illegals who are undermining their economic growth and undermining their agenda and, causing Black people to be overlooked, the Republican Party, or at least the Trump administration in this particular instance, is doing the opposite. They're clearing the way for Americans because Trump is about America first. And when you talk about Americans and America first, yes, that includes you, Black people. And this brings me to the conversation about the FBA thing, right? Because at first I didn't like it. I'll be honest with you, because I don't like Tariq Nasheed. I think he's gay, and I don't really subscribe to anything that gay people put forward because I don't identify with that shit, right? But I had to change my opinion on the FBA thing, even though Tariq Nasheed's definition involves African lineage. I see that Black Americans who have subscribed to the FBA label embracing their Americanism and starting to see the situation for what it is when it comes to these illegals, these foreigners from different countries coming to America and getting first place in line in front of Black Americans, and they're insulted by it and they're outraged by it and they're in support, a lot of them, of the ICE raids and the removal of these foreign nationals, because that clears the way for Black Americans to actually make economic progress. And because of the FBA label basically highlighting Black Americans' Americanism, I'm starting to see a lot of Black Americans now moving away from that faggoty Obama bullshit where Black people were being taught to hate America. And they're actually starting to appreciate and love America. And I have to respect it. I have to respect it. And that was one of the rare times in my YouTube career that I've ever had to make such a drastic change to my personal opinion on a specific subject. And I'm not mad about it at all. I'm actually kind of glad that I took a step back and learned to respect the FBA movement, because at the end of the day, as a Black conservative, what I wanted to see was Black Americans embrace their Americanism and take a stand for America, because Black people are an integral part of America. Black people fought in the Revolutionary War. Black people helped build this country. Black people suffered the most in this country. And it's insulting to see the Democratic Party, who were responsible for enslaving Black people and responsible for creating the KKK that terrorized Black people, responsible for the Jim Crow laws that segregated and ostracized and alienated Black people. It's insulting to see these Democrats now piss on Black people and make concessions for these foreigners. And I believe that through the FBA movement and the embracing of and Black people embracing their Americanism, I believe that that's going to bring a lot of Black Americans back over to the conservative side, because that's who Black Americans were from the beginning. Because the Republican Party and the conservatives have always been fighting for the rights of Black Americans, whereas the Democrats have always been fighting against the rights of Black Americans. It's only until the last few decades that they put on blackface and started pretending to be the party for Black people. But look who they suck up to. Look who they work for. The Soros family. And these are the same people that will sit there and tell you, oh, Donald Trump is a racist. Donald Trump is bad. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Blah, 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 blah. It's all bullshit. Bullshit brought to you by the mouth of bullshitters. That's what that is. Now, remember these guys that ran up in the church? William Kelly was arrested for his involvement in the St. Paul church riots. This is the crowd that you're siding with. All you Trump haters out there, this is who you're siding with. A bunch of whores and crackheads. That's who you're siding with. These are the same people that'll be on YouTube pushing the whole Trump is in the Epstein files. Trump's down with Epstein. So anybody, and I mean anybody, I don't care who they are, how cool you are with them, how much respect you have for them. Anybody out there that's pushing the Trump bad narrative and Trump is down with Epstein narrative, this is who they're siding with. Rather than siding with the truth, they're siding with a bunch of whores and crack fiends. Because that's what the Democratic Party is. You think Hunter Biden on the pictures from his laptop was the only one smoking crack and getting down with hoes like that? They all do it. They all do it. And over 50% of the males in the Democratic Party, they're homosexuals. Don't matter if they got a wife and kids. They're gay. Look at Andrew Gillum. Gay. And if you don't know who Andrew Gillum is, Andrew Gillum ran for the governorship of Florida in 2018 against Ron DeSantis. And he was the former mayor of Tallahassee, Florida. He lost the election. And shortly after he lost that election, by February, I think it was, of 2019, he was photographed passed out in a hotel room where there was a gay sex party going on, and he was butt naked on the floor, passed out, and there was blood and fecal matter on the bed. There were all types of drugs in the room, including muscle relaxers and painkillers and shit. And the man has a wife and 3 kids. That's your Democratic Party. That's who you're siding with. Just remember that. Anytime you hear that Trump bad narrative being parroted and being pushed around, that's who you're siding with. If you so choose that side. I can't side with that shit. I can't get down with that shit because that ain't my stilo. That ain't me. So even if I don't like Trump and I have my problems with Trump, I would never find myself aligning with these people. Because I'm not a crackhead and I'm not a whore. So unless you're a crackhead and a whore, you have no business aligning yourself with these people. A.G. Mays, ICE, not real police. Stand your ground. Stand your ground is ready. The green light protocol. And I believe this is the Attorney General of, what state is she the Attorney General of? Hold on. A.G. Mays, Arizona. The Attorney General of Arizona is preaching to you that ICE is bad. Mind you, Arizona has a huge illegal alien problem, and you can ask the black people that live in Arizona how great life has been for them since Biden opened up the border. It's been pure hell on earth. And this is the Attorney General, who's the top prosecutor in the state, telling you that the illegal aliens should be allowed to stay. This is who you're going to side with? And this is the same crowd that will be telling you that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files and Donald Trump was down with Epstein. Don't worry about the election. Trump's not going to win. I made fucking sure of that. And this is Eric Coomer, the Director of Strategy and Security for Dominion Voting Systems, talking on an Antifa conference call. Former Dominion executive Eric Coomer has just admitted under oath he was working with foreign actors during the 2020 election, according to court documents after his deposition yesterday afternoon. This was a couple of weeks ago. The walls are coming down around everyone involved in the 2020 election. And this is part of the reason why Donald Trump went into Venezuela and snatched Maduro. And Anybody that's the same, what you'll notice, right, is the same crowd that's mad at Trump for snatching Maduro is the same crowd telling you that Donald Trump's down with the Epstein files, and it's the same crowd trying to fearmonger you about ICE. It's the same group of people because their agenda is to disparage Trump, turn public opinion against Trump, so he does not have popular opinion on his side. So he does not have the consent of the people. Meanwhile, while these American sellouts are trying to get you mad at Trump for removing Maduro from office in Venezuela, the Venezuelan people are celebrating. The Venezuelan people are happy that Maduro's gone. So let me get this straight. We got Americans here in this country that are more mad at Trump over Maduro than the actual people of the country where Maduro was removed from. How does that make any sense? Sounds like there's an agenda being pushed, doesn't it? Well, that's because there is. Simply put, there's an agenda being pushed. And it's fake outrage is what it is. It's fake outrage meant to turn the public opinion against Donald Trump so he does not have the consent of the people. But unfortunately, it's not working because more and more people are starting to see the shit for what it is. The Democratic propaganda versus what's actually going on. Because these same people on YouTube, especially, that are telling you to be mad at Trump about Maduro, if you go listen to what the Venezuelan people are saying, the Venezuelan people are happy about that shit. They're glad that Maduro's gone. They didn't even elect the motherfucker. So again, why are Americans more mad about Maduro being removed from power than the actual people of the country he was removed from? Because it's all to feed the Trump bad narrative. That's what it's all about. The Trump bad narrative. And when it comes to Iran, that's a whole nother story because all that talk about America going to war with Iran and all that shit, not going to happen. John Leguizamo, another one of these sellout celebrities, he put the dress on, so you already know what time it is with him. He's been bent over the couch a few times. If you follow ICE, don't follow me. Don't come to my shows and don't watch my movies. Well, John Leguizamo, nobody cares about you, bro. Nobody cares about you. And we already know what time it is with you. So we don't need to listen to you. And again, the whole Trump bad crowd, the whole Trump's down with Epstein crowd, these are the perverts right here. This is the guy that got shot by ICE. These are the same people that will tell you how much of a pervert Trump is. These are the people trying to tell you how much of a perv Trump is. These are the people trying to tell you Trump is a pervert and a pedophile. Actual perverts and pedophiles. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic? There's another one. This is the leader of Antifa in Minnesota who called to take up arms against ICE. Anyone have a message for him? Bunch of weirdos. And again, you anti-Trump, you Trump bad motherfuckers, these are your allies, just so you know. So before you sit there and claim that Trump was involved with Epstein and Trump was down with Epstein and this and that, these motherfuckers are who you're agreeing with, just so you know. These are the people that you're siding with. These are your allies in your anti-Trump ravings, okay? Again, I can't get with that. I can't get with that. Grown men dressing like bitches trying to tell you what to think and how to feel. And these are some angry fags too. Boy, they are angry and violent. Matter of fact, there was a shooting at I think it was like a high school hockey game recently. Somebody opened fire in the crowd. And guess who it was? Another one of these transgenitals. Because these are some angry, violent homosexuals. And they're weirdos. I can't find myself on the same ideological aisle as these fucking weirdos. And anybody that's trying to preach to you the same ideology that these weirdos are preaching to you, you really got to look at them with the side eye. You really got to look at them with the side eye. Like, these are your allies. These are your political allies. This is who you stand side by side with against Trump. These people, something's definitely wrong. Something's got to be wrong. But you see, most well-meaning people, they won't think that deeply into it. They'll just think, "Oh, we just happen to align on this one topic." No, you're aligning yourself with demons. That's what you're doing. You're aligning yourself with straight demons. I mean, granted, we all got demons in us that we wrestle with from time to time because that's the duality of man, right? There's a light side and there's a dark side. But these motherfuckers right here, they have become their demons. You know, the demons are transgender too, right? Biblically speaking, when you look at the books of the Bible that have been removed from the canonized texts, and they give descriptions of angels and demons, because demons are nothing more than fallen angels. The angels don't really have a set gender. They can flip flop between genders, just like these transgenitals. So these men are literal demons. They have metastasized into the demons that have consumed their lives. And this is who you're siding with. This is who's telling you Trump's in the Epstein files and Trump is a pervert. Just remember, just always remember that. Let these images be burned into your mind that this is the Trump bad crowd. And if you're a grown man that likes women and you're not a homosexual and you're not a pervert or a pedophile or a weirdo, just remember this is who you're siding with every time you get mad, think about Trump. Just remember that's who these are your allies. These are your brothers in arms right here. Just remember that. Donald Trump threatens to sue Trevor Noah after Grammys host claims president visited Epstein Island. You see, they're just out there lying. Trevor Noah is a fucking foreigner with a foreign accent from South Africa. He's not even American, so I don't even know why he's got a voice in American media. But again, when you have media that's infiltrated by foreigners and you have a political system that's infiltrated by foreigners whose agenda it is to sell America out to the foreign corporations, well, it's only fitting that they will put foreigners in positions of authority to speak to the American people and tell us what to think. And Trump says, I have never been to the Epstein Island. And Trump responded to Trevor Noah, and he says, the Grammy Awards are the worst, virtually unwatchable. CBS is lucky not to have this garbage litter their airwaves any longer. The host, Trevor Noah, whoever he may be, is almost as bad as Jimmy Kimmel at the low ratings Academy Awards. Noah said incorrectly about me that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton spent time on Epstein Island. Wrong. I can't speak for Bill, but I have never been to Epstein Island, nor anywhere close, and until tonight's false and defamatory statement, have never been accused of being there, not even by the fake news media. Noah, a total loser, better get his facts straight and get them straight fast. It looks like I'll be sending my lawyers to sue this poor, pathetic, talentless dope of an MC and suing him for plenty money. Ask little George Slapadopoulos and others how that all worked out. Also ask CBS. Get ready, Noah. I'm going to have some fun with you, President Donald J. Trump. So Donald Trump is threatening to sue Trevor Noah, and I believe he should, because that lawsuit is going to put a stop to this whole Trump been to Epstein Island bullshit. Because not only does historical facts bear it out, but the flight logs bear it out, and the timeline to which Epstein purchased his island bears it out as well. All right, here we go. The Palm Beach Post, flight logs. Donald Trump flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Here are the details. And this was from back in February 28th, 2025, a year ago. And let me see if I can blow this up. There we go. Key points. Flight logs reveal that Trump flew on Epstein's planes multiple times between 1993 and 1997, accompanied by family members on some occasions. Bill Clinton also flew on Epstein's planes numerous times between 2002 and 2003 after leaving office. Notable figures like Naomi Campbell, Kevin Spacey, and Chris Tucker were also passengers on Epstein's planes on Epstein's plane at various times, right? So look at this. Between 93 and 97, and mind you, between 93 and 97, it was only 2 or 3 flights. And every flight was between New York, Florida, and DC. Little St. James, that's Epstein's Island, is a small private island in the United States Virgin Islands, southeast of St. Thomas. It was owned by American financier and convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein from 1998 until his death in 2019. Due to Epstein's years of ownership and especially its alleged use as a base of operations for underage sex trafficking, the island is most often nicknamed Epstein Island and often called Pedophile Island. You see? So Donald Trump flew on Epstein's plane between 93 and 97. Epstein didn't purchase the island until 98. So how I'm about to cuss. So because people don't know basic math. How the hell did Donald Trump fly on Epstein's plane to Epstein's Island in 97, between 93 and 97, when Epstein's Island didn't exist till 98? You see how easily provable that is? But Trevor Noah would get on TV and lie and say Trump went to Epstein's Island because he knows that the general public is ignorant, maybe not stupid, or not that stupid, but definitely ignorant, and would fall for that lie and believe that lie because they've been brainwashed to hate Trump this whole time. So anything about Trump that's bad, they'll grasp onto it and they'll latch onto it, even if it's a lie. And this is how easily disprovable that lie is. So unless Trevor Noah apologizes and apologizes quickly, he's about to be paying up. And I hope Trump sues the shit out of him. And he's going to win. And a lot of these clowns, when they get sued by Trump for lying on them, what they do is they settle out of court. So there's no public record of them losing. But the fact, innocent people don't settle out of court. Let's just say that. Now, Department of Justice publishes 3.5 million responsive pages in compliance with the Epsteinfiles Transparency Act. Right, he should apologize publicly. That would save him from getting sued. And this is January 30th, 2026. And this is the part I want you guys to pay attention to, because this is the part that the Trump is down with Epstein crowd hangs their hat on. And this is how shaky their case is. It's like literally every slanderous lie about Trump that they put out, when you dissect the facts of the matter, it always turns out that it's based on a lie. It says this production may include fake or falsely submitted images, documents, or videos, as everything that was sent to the FBI by the public was included in the production that is responsive to the act. Some of the documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. See that? Politically motivated. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they have a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. To access the full letter the Justice Department sent to Congress today, visit www.justice.gov/letter to Congress. Okay? And this guy, Ray Jackson, is one of the victims of the Trump is down with Epstein lie. There he is in his nice sharp suit and all that, but he's just another one of these dumbed down Democratic coons. And he says, Epstein files say Trump raped a 13-year-old. No, the Epstein files don't say that. The public submissions to the Epstein files say that, not the Epstein files. The files say girls were brought to his Mar-a-Lago place for calendar girl parties. Kids were abused, checked for tightness by touching them, and sold to rich men. One account says a girl was 13 when Trump raped her, forcing oral sex and more. Right? But what's crazy is When Jeffrey Epstein was at Mar-a-Lago, basically hitting on a 14-year-old girl, Trump got mad, banned him from Mar-a-Lago, and went and told on him to the police. So how is it that Donald Trump is banning Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago, but then partying with Jeffrey Epstein at Mar-a-Lago at the same time? How does that even make any sense? But you see, Ray Jackson, this Democratic coon, and you should see the other nonsense that he posts, he's going to hang his hat on what DOJ just clearly stated was submissions from the public that are false. You see right here, complaint summary. And they got the name of the alleged person who submitted this complaint redacted. Reported an unidentified female friend who was forced to perform oral sex on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing oral sex. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. This is what they're hanging their hats on. And again, these are submissions from the general public. These are not real cases that involve real victims. These are people that made up shit right before the 2020 election. And this is what the whole Trump is down with Epstein crowd hangs their hat on. Blank reported she has a friend, blank, who was a personal assistant to Epstein in Florida from 1986 until 1991 or 92. This friend shared names of some of the guests at Epstein's parties to include Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. You see, and it's all hearsay. So this person reported that their friend told them this. You see how shaky that is? That doesn't stand up in court. You can't go, that's not considered witness testimony when, oh, I'm telling this to the court because somebody told this to me. That's not how that works. At age 16, while modeling, Caller attended 8 parties at Epstein's New York residence. On one occasion, Caller reported she was sexually assaulted by Epstein. On another occasion, 2 twin brothers, Alan and Orrin, lured Caller and her friend upstairs, but they escaped back downstairs. Caller stated Orrin raped her best friend, and a third brother, Tal, raped a 14-year-old girl named Blank. Caller named other individuals involved in big orgy parties with her, other young girls, and older Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Online complaint reported she was a victim and witnessed, complainant reported she was a victim and witness to a sex trafficking ring at the Trump golf course in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, between 1995 and 96. Complainant reported Ghislaine Maxwell as the madam and broker for sex parties, clients whom included Epstein, Robin Leach, and Donald Trump. Complainant reported participating in orgies and that some girls went missing, rumored to have been murdered and buried at the facility. Complainant reported being threatened by Trump's then head of security that if she ever talked of what went on there or who saw he would end up as fertilizer for the back 9 holes like the other cunts. Complainant claims to have video of high-profile sex parties, dealings with cartels, and having witnessed Robin Leach strangle a young girl to death at a party. Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children in, and Trump would auction them. You see? So this is what the Trump was down with Epstein crowd hangs their hat on. But this is what they're ignoring. This production may include fake or falsely submitted images, documents, or videos as everything that was sent to the FBI by the public was included in the production that is responsive to the act. Some of the documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. So there's obvious political motivation here. And this part of the Epstein files is it contains claims from members of the general public who were asked to submit their claims and their complaints to the FBI. And this is what they submitted to the FBI. A bunch of false claims, a bunch of lies and untruths, and the parts that were true, they just tagged Donald Trump's name in it to demonize Donald Trump. Because again, how the fuck is Trump partying with Epstein and doing all this with underage girls when Donald Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago for hitting on an underage girl? It makes no sense at all. Also, if Donald Trump really were guilty of doing these things, why would he have had Epstein indicted in the first place? It wouldn't make any sense because all this would be brought out and it would tank his political career. And that's exactly what they're trying to do to Donald Trump's political career now by using these false statements by these paid operatives, obviously paid operatives, to demonize Trump and paint him as a bad guy. And paint him. All right. Hold on a second. My Wi-Fi is tripping. All right, there we go. Why are we buffering all over YouTube? What the fuck's going on? Are they taking me down? I hope not. Let me see if I get off the Wi-Fi and go to 5G. Maybe that'll work better. All right. We'll just rock out on the 5G on the phone so I can see it. And guys, don't forget to hit the Cash App, hit the PayPal, hit the Venmo, support the show. It's a fan-funded show, and we need the support of the fans for the show. So support the show. Now, slide 20 here is a Craigslist ad advertising for rioters to join the anti-ICE riots. And the reason why I'm showing you this is to illustrate for you how easy it is to solicit political operatives for a sum of money to do a job like, I don't know, make false statements against the president to the FBI or gather in the streets in large numbers to undermine the president's agenda. And the fact that they're willing to advertise publicly to get operatives to come out in the streets and act an ass and impede the federal government from conducting their operations, how hard would it have been for them to solicit individuals who were politically motivated and monetarily motivated to come out and tell lies against Donald Trump? It's not very hard to do. This is America. You can find anybody to do just about anything for $1. I mean, there's a whole porno site called Ghetto Gaggers where these racist white men, right, exactly, where the hell were the parents? Where these racist white men hire black women to do all kinds of sexually depraved things to them for like $1,000, $2,000 and shit, right? So if it's that easy to get individuals to sell their souls for such a small amount of money, don't you think they could get individuals to sell their souls to tell lies on Donald Trump? It's very easy to do. I'm sure some of you guys have been solicited to tell lies against Trump or to tell lies against people who, you know, who they want lied on. Based on provided search results, there is no mention of a specific former Epstein tip line. Hold on. Who was Epstein tip? When was Epstein tip line set up? And it says, based on the provided search results, there is no mention of a specific formal Epstein tip line being set up by law enforcement at a single defined time. Instead, the results indicate that multiple separate investigations into Jeffrey Epstein occurred over many years, starting with reports to the FBI as early as 1996. 1996, Maria Farmer reported abuse to the FBI, but no investigation was opened until 2006. And that 2006 was when Trump told on Epstein. May 2006, the FBI officially opened an investigation known as Operation Leap Year. 2020 to 2025, various tips and reports from victims were received by the FBI over the years, including a tip in October 2020 about a party for prostitutes at Mar-a-Lago. So again, that page that I showed you from the Epstein files with the yellow highlights came from these various tips received by the FBI about the party for prostitutes at Mar-a-Lago. So again, there's no factual basis to any of those claims in that section of the Epstein files that basically implicates Trump. And the sources of this information are questionable at best. And the reason why they're questionable at best is because they came at a time when it was politically feasible to tell those lies. 2025 to 26, following the passage of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, the Justice Department began releasing massive amounts of previously confidential documents, including many tips and interview summaries. The documents released in December 2025 and January 2026 show that the FBI received tips about Epstein and his associates throughout the 2000s and 2010s. You see? So again, all the people claiming that Trump was down with Epstein, they're full of shit. And they're full of shit because they're going based off of information that was brought to the FBI by questionable characters whom the DOJ themselves say are false and unsubstantiated. So they're using bullshit lies from a bunch of bullshitters to feed you more bullshit, essentially. And these are supposed to be trusted sources on YouTube. These are supposed to be prominent voices on YouTube who many of us would look to for real information, and this is the bullshit they're feeding us. Talk about damaging your own credibility. Sheesh. Look at this. Look at this bullshit. Check this out. Ex-model who accused Trump of groping her in the 1990s says Epstein often spoke of Trump. Really? Really? And you see right there, ex-model, that should raise red flags right there. Because a lot of these women who spend their young, beautiful years as models and they make their money as models, when they get old and dried up and they can't make money no more, they either end up being prostitutes or they find themselves a husband to make them a trophy wife, or they get politically involved and whoever's the highest bidder is who they sell out to. The former Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, who has accused former President Donald Trump of groping her in front of Jeffrey Epstein in the early 90s, is offering more details about what she claims she observed about Epstein's relationship with the current presidential candidate and what she says Epstein told her. Really? So this ex-model, so this washed-up prostitute, basically. Yeah, exactly, Angela Caraway. Exactly, Angela Caraway. Like Stormy Daniels. No different. They're all the fucking same. They're all the same. There she is right there. Washed up. Stacey Williams says Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein coordinated sex parties and blah, blah, blah. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her. That's what she used to look like. And that's when she actually was making money. Because she was making money off of her youth and her beauty. And as she got older, her youth and her beauty faded. And now she looks like a dried up old gremlin that nobody will pay $2 to hit. So guess what? Now she comes out telling her lies about Donald Trump. Why wasn't she telling on Donald Trump back then? Donald Trump had a lot of money back then. She could have sued him and got rich if that really happened to her. But she didn't. You know why? Because it didn't happen to her, and she would have destroyed her career if she tried that shit. But now that she's old and dried up, and her career is already destroyed because, well, ain't nobody paying for that old ran through pussy. Now she's fine. Now she finds a reason to tell this lie and get paid for it. That's what it's about. Look, CNN, The Guardian, doing all these interviews. These networks pay for these interviews. So if she can tell the lie and keep telling the lie and keep getting paid to tell the lie, why not keep telling the lie? This is what whores do. They lie. That's why you can't trust a hoe, because they lie. Former model who accused Donald Trump of groping her is Stacey Williams. The allegation, Williams, a former Sports Illustrated, and this is just one of the whores, mind you. This is just an example to show you how discredited these people are. She's got a questionable past. She had a career based on her looks, and when her looks faded in her old age and she can't get paid for her looks no more, now she's going to get paid for her lies. That's the way it goes. Like Stormy Daniels. Thank you for bringing that up, Angela Caraway. The same old playbook. Exactly. The allegation, Williams, a former Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, alleges that Donald Trump groped her in early 1993 at Trump Tower in New York City while Jeffrey Epstein watched. Context of the incident. Williams was dating Epstein at the time and stated that he brought her to Trump's office. She described the incident as feeling like a twisted game or a coordinated act between Trump and Epstein. So she was actually dating the super pedophile. Ain't that something? So this was Epstein's bitch. So Epstein's bitch is deciding to lie on Donald Trump. Essentially, this is essentially what we're witnessing here. But check this out. The going public section is what really got me. Williams publicly disclosed the allegation during a Zoom call with Survivors for Kamala in October 2024, just before the 2024 presidential election. There it is, right there in black and white. That's when she publicly disclosed the allegation. Survivors for Kamala. In other words, washed up hoes with nothing better to do, being paid by George Soros on behalf of Kamala Harris to lie on Trump. Mind you, Kamala Harris herself is a washed up hoe. Didn't she build her political career off of Willie Brown's penis? If I remember correctly. Yeah, I think so. So you got a hoe running for president, and using a bunch of other got a washed up hoe running for president, a bunch of other washed up hoes sitting there lying on her political opponents. Yeah, downtown Willie Brown, lying on the political opponents in order to boost the credibility of the washed up hoe running for president. That's essentially what's going on here. And it's pretty fucking obvious. And if this woman was actually dating Jeffrey Epstein, she knew what time it was with Jeffrey Epstein. So to try to now come out years later and put it on Trump and blame sexual inappropriate misconduct on Trump is a little bit ridiculous. And anybody who buys into it, well, that essentially means that you will take the word of a washed up hoe with financial and political motives to lie against the word of a man that basically put his life, his wealth, and his good name on the line to serve his country. Who has more credibility here? The guy that's serving his country and not collecting a salary and lost 75% of his wealth in the process, or a washed up hoe with nothing better to do but lie? And again, the same Donald Trump is down with Epstein crowd. This is what they hang their hats on. This is what they believe. This is who they choose to believe in. And once you examine the facts, once you examine the details, once you look into these so called victims, and you start to see it for what it is, a bunch of washed up hoes that can't make money no more because their good looks have faded with age, and now now they have a political motivation to get that money by lying on Donald Trump. Just the mere fact that this woman dated Jeffrey Epstein should tell you all you need to know about her credibility. She has no credibility because Ghislaine Maxwell dated Jeffrey Epstein too, and look where that got her. So you telling me we're going to believe Ghislaine Maxwell too? Because if we are going to believe Ghislaine Maxwell, what Ghislaine Maxwell said was Donald Trump ain't have nothing to do with Epstein's activities. That's been Ghislaine Maxwell's story from the time she got arrested. But she knew about everything else Epstein was doing, don't she? Exactly. So again, the whole Trump is down with Epstein crowd, this is who they're siding with. So they'd rather side with an old washed up hoe with financial and political motivations to lie than to actually encourage people to examine the facts, examine the details, and make a decision for themselves as to what they're going to choose to believe. That's literally where we're at with it. And it's sad to see, and it breaks my heart to see it, because I see a lot of good brothers out there that I put my trust and my faith in, telling this lie and parroting this lie, and it's disgusting and disappointing. And what's even more disgusting and disappointing is the fact that there's still people out there, hundreds of thousands of people out there, that still trust and believe in these men and listen to these men spread these same lies from the mouth of whores. And these are supposed to be decent men. These are supposed to be family-oriented men. These are supposed to be men of good character. But they'll side with a whore. Shit is bugged out. Shit is bugged the fuck out. Details provided. Williams reported that she froze during the encounter and later felt a wave of shame that caused her to bury the memory for years. Yeah, right. She's just making the shit up. She also mentioned receiving a postcard from Trump shortly after the incident that read, "Stacey, you're home away from home. Love, Donald Trump." And you know what? Donald Trump probably did send her a postcard because he was a nice guy like that. By all accounts, every other woman that he had an encounter with, except for these lying whores, all had good things to say about Donald Trump. And now, if in fact Donald Trump did send her a postcard, she's now using Donald Trump's kind gesture to support her lie about him. Disgusting. Corroboration. Several friends of Williams confirmed to CNN and NBC News that she had told them about the incident years before she went public. So now the whore got together with her friends to corroborate the lie. How many times have we seen hoes do that shit? How many times have you seen a bunch of people get together to tell a lie on somebody if there's something to gain from it? So just because they're friends of Williams means they're just as discredited as she is, in my opinion. Now, if these people were enemies of Williams and had a motivation to discredit Williams and they corroborated her story, it would have more credibility. But these are her friends. So she could have told him, yeah, just back me up on this, girl. Back me up on this. I'll break you off some of that check. How easy would that be? Trump's response. A spokesperson for the Trump campaign denied the allegations, calling them a fabricated story designed to influence the 2024 election. And that's exactly what it is. Because where the fuck was this bitch in 2016? Where the fuck was she in 2020? Exactly. Williams is recognized as the 27th woman to publicly accuse Donald Trump of sexual misconduct. Right. The 27th woman to accuse Donald Trump of sexual misconduct, And again, none of these accusations existed before Donald Trump decided to run for president. So it stinks to high heaven of political motivation. And anybody that sees it differently, well, I sure would like to get your opinion on that, because I smell politically motivated lies here. It's all politically motivated. There's no other explanation for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that brings us to the end of the slideshow, and I don't really have much else to say about it, except just remember, this is what the Trump bad crowd and the Trump's down with Epstein crowd is hanging their hats on. False statements submitted by the public that are politically motivated, and DOJ themselves says that the production may include fake or falsely submitted images, documents, or videos, as everything that was sent to the FBI by the public was included in the production. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. I don't have much. There's not much more I can say about this. The whole Epsteinfiles thing, it's all a bunch of bullshit. Trying to put Donald Trump in it, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of politically motivated crap by a bunch of old washed up whores that can't make money no more because they ugly now. And they sided with the establishment that's willing to throw money around to push their political agenda. They've basically been bought and paid for. Because again, Donald Trump was a very wealthy man back then. And if these women really were victimized by Donald Trump like they claimed they were, they could have gotten paid lovely. But they didn't. Why? Because nobody offered them any money to lie until the elections came around, and it was now politically feasible to pay for these lies. So don't believe the hype. Don't fall for that. Oh, Trump's down with Epstein. Trump's been doing all kinds of ungodly things with Epstein and blah, 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 blah. It makes no sense. Every bit of evidence, quote unquote, evidence that they put out falls apart upon examination. The logic of the whole thing makes no sense, because if Trump was down with Epstein, he would have no reason to indict Epstein. And the fact that we watched the entire media establishment go from seeing Trump as America's sweetheart to seeing him as to vilifying him as America's number one pariah, should tell you something about the level of deception that we're dealing with. And what's happening with these Epstein files, it is a coordinated deception, orchestrated deception. And the lie is being repeated over and over and over again in mainstream media and in alternative media to give it credibility when it has no credibility. Like, contrast Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein caught a case in 2006, which dragged all the way on to 2009. And there were allegations against him back then. Donald Trump testified against him back then. So if Donald Trump was doing all this with Epstein since the 90s, why wasn't that brought out in the case against Epstein in the early 2000s? The victims could have easily come to court and say, hey, Donald Trump was down with him too. But there was no mention of Donald Trump being down with Epstein in Epstein's first case, even though the improprieties that Trump's being accused of occurred prior to the 2009 Jeffrey Epstein case. So why is this all coming out now? Because it's all politically motivated and financially motivated. That's why. You see what I'm saying? So when you examine these claims and the people making these claims, and you look at the time frames and the timelines and the series of events, it just doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all. But when you examine the political motivations, the political affiliations, I mean, survivors for Kamala, are you fucking kidding me? Like that should be a huge red flag that this is fabricated, this is orchestrated, this is a lie. And again, if any of this were true, why wasn't this published back during the Biden administration? Because here's the thing, that one page that I showed you guys that's highlighted in yellow with all the lies that these bitches called up and told, right? Biden could have used that in 2020 against Trump or in 2024 against Trump. Why didn't they? They had access to the files. They could have declassified that one page. Why didn't they? Because they knew it was lies. They knew it was bullshit. And they knew that if they had even cracked open the Epsteinfiles book, America would have demanded to see the rest of it. So they dare not touch it because it condemned them and their political affiliates, not Donald Trump. Right, Shane, it wasn't Biden. The Biden avatar. And what's nuts is people thought I was crazy. Speaking of that, the fake Biden presidency, people thought I was fucking crazy when I said that that's not the real Joe Biden. And I even showed side by side images. This blew my mind. I did not know that this was in the Epstein files. I did not know that in the Epstein files, it mentioned that Biden was killed in 2009. I didn't know that. I had no fucking idea that the Epstein files mentioned it. But I did know that that was not Joe Biden. Let me see if I could find something on my Rumble page real quick. Let me see. My content. There we go. Dim, 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 dim. Yeah, fake Biden presidency. Proofs. Uganda bans LGBT, flat earth versus mainstream scientism, and more. Fake Biden presidency. There's one right there. Let me see. See what else comes up if I search Biden. The revival, the Biden show concludes. The Biden show continues. That's what I called it. The Biden show continues. Fake Biden presidency. And there's a bunch others too. This is just what pops up with the search. But there's a bunch more that you guys can find on the Rumble page. And it breaks it all down. And I show all the images of the real Joe Biden versus the fake Joe Biden. And it's undeniable that the one claiming to be President Biden is not Biden. And they fooled the entire world. And all the idiot Democrat voters that went out and voted for this avatar actually believed that they were voting for Joe Biden when they were voting for a dead man. This is why Donald Trump kept calling him Sleepy Joe. And Donald Trump kept saying he's asleep in the basement. This is why. And this is why he wasn't campaigning, because he was dead. And this is why they had to fake the election and steal the election, because they used the Biden avatar to be the face of the campaign and the face of the presidency, but all the operatives went to work carrying out the agenda. And I think this is one of the most, and this is more significant to me than the lies about Trump and the Epstein files, because this part of the Epstein files actually supports the notion that we spent 4 years under an illegitimate presidency based on election fraud. And it begs the question, who the hell was running the country? Who the hell was really running the country at the time? Now, some people say it was Obama, but I believe Obama was executed around the same time Biden was, because the Obama that's running around now ain't the real Barack Obama. A lot of these politicians that are running around ain't them. And the fact that the Epstein files verify that when Biden was running around, that wasn't really him. That begs the question, how many more imposters do we have in our political system? And you notice after the 2024 election, Biden just disappeared. Haven't seen or heard from him since. They retired the avatar, apparently. But, you know, tonight was the comeback stream. And I know it's a little, it's a little being cut a little short here. But I don't really have much else to say on the topic, man. I think I made my point. I think I made it quite, quite poignant. And I made my point quite authoritatively and quite clear that all this Trump is down with Epstein shit, it's lies. It's lies, lies, lies. And to have individuals, especially on YouTube, in the truth community, selling you these lies, it's a bit disappointing, to tell you the truth. It's extremely disappointing to see. And what's even more disheartening and disappointing is to see how many thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are falling for these lies. It's enough to send you up a wall, to tell you the truth. But all I can do is get on here, do my presentations, show the truth, and hopefully, Citizen Man TV channel starts to pick up enough traction to where more people start to see the truth for what it is. Because what I notice is when new people come to the channel and they go back and they binge watch my streams and shit, or not even binge watch, they just start watching my streams, they tend to stick around because they see how credible I am, because they're living in a time where certain events are playing out, and they go back and watch streams from weeks and months prior, and they hear me talking about the very same events they're watching play out in the present day, and it builds my credibility, and it makes them stick around and makes them curious to know more and hear more from me, which I think is good. But I wish that more people were able to were able to find the show, come to the show, watch the shows, and stick around anyway without having to go back and look at the previous shows. But because I noticed the longer my channel, the more streams that I do, is the bigger the numbers on the past shows get. So the past shows are getting more numbers than the present shows, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, but the present shows should be getting just as many numbers as well. So it's almost like they gotta vet my credibility before they really start fucking with me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have a problem with that per se, because I know my credibility is rock solid when it comes to this subject matter. But I just wish it wasn't like that. But at the same time, I can understand why, because there's so many fakers out there that claim they're giving you the truth, but they're selling you the same lie that the fake news is selling you. They're selling you the same lie that the Democratic Party is selling you, while telling you they're not political and they're not involved in politics and this and that, but they're giving you the same propaganda that the Democrat Party has been giving you. You see what I'm saying? So they're deceiving their viewers. And I think that's reprehensible and disgusting to do. They're basically playing on the ignorance of their viewers. And I don't mean ignorance in the sense that like viewers are stupid or anything like that. I mean, they just don't know. And because they don't know, they're more likely to believe individuals who purport themselves as if they know. But if these individuals who purport themselves as if they know are selling these people who don't know the same lie that the mainstream media has been selling them, guess what? They'll start believing the mainstream media. Because they're hearing the same lies being parroted in both spheres, in the mainstream media sphere and then in the truth sphere on YouTube, in the alternative media. And it's a sick game that the enemies are playing. And it's even more disgusting how they buy off these YouTubers by allowing them to get big views and get big YouTube checks and, have big channels and shit. Whereas Guys like myself who actually do the research, do the digging, and present the actual facts to the people, we don't get shit. We barely get a cash app or two every show. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's and I think it's fucked up that it's like that, but that's how it is when you're in an information war. They disincentivize the people putting out the truth. They incentivize the people who are willing to go along with the lie so they get more people to go along with the lie. I can't do that. I don't have it in me to do that. I just don't. So I'm cool with the small numbers. I'm cool with the little donations. I'm cool with all of that. You know why? Because when I shut my stream down and I go to bed at night, I sleep quite well. And I sleep quite well because I know that the few dozen people that tuned into my show and the few hundred more that are going to watch it on a replay are going to actually get real information and know what's really going on, and they'll be building their immunity to the fake news propaganda. What's up, Mr. Nice One? You know what I'm saying? I can sleep well at night knowing that I did the right thing. I told the truth, and that's what it is. Let the chips fall where they may. And guys, don't forget to give me a follow over on Rumble. We're almost to 2,600 subscribers on Rumble, and here on YouTube, we're almost. Where I think. Let me see. Let me double check this number real quick. We're at 29. We were at 2993. Now we're at 2992. So we lost one, but we're 8 subscribers away from 3,000 subs. So if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please make sure you do to get us over that hump and get us to that 3,000 mark. All right. Also, don't forget to follow me on the Citizen Man backup channel. If you haven't subscribed to the backup channel yet, please, please, please make sure you do, because that's where you'll find me if they zap me on YouTube at Citizen Man TV. You'll find me on the Citizen Man backup channel, at least enough to know where to go to really find the long form content. All right. So make sure you follow the Citizen Man backup channel. And of course, last but not least, if you guys sat through the show and you felt like it was worth a buck or two, then don't be embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Don't hesitate. Don't feel, you know, like 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 you can't donate to the show if you got it. Please, please, please donate to the show. We are fan funded, fan supported. You know, I've been monetized for quite a while, and I don't know why I don't see the super chat thing down here. I don't know what the fuck's up with that. But we've been monetized for quite a while on YouTube. And you know how much money I've made in all the months I've been monetized on YouTube? You wouldn't believe it if I told you. Just over $100, like $109. You believe that shit? That's crazy, ain't it? But if you guys would like to support the show by sending in a kind donation, you could do so via Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo by using the tag scrolling across the screen in the banner below. The links that are pinned to the top of the YouTube chat in the black box where it says Citizen Man TV in yellow. Just click on the yellow, the box opens up, and all the links are there and available. All right. And shout out to, we did get 2 cash apps for the night. So let me go ahead and shout my people out. And while I was absent, we actually got 2 more. Shout out to my sister. My sister Sarah says, I don't have money to spare. Shout out to my sister Cherokee for keeping it real. Shout out to my brother Shu, says, hope you good. Appreciate your Shu. And Kenya, shout out to my sister Kenya, says, I just can't wait, Citizen Man, and these trolls. She says, I just can't, CM, you and these trolls, LOL. So shout out to you guys for that support. That's 2 for tonight and 2 from previous nights. Oh, let me check the Citizen Man Cash App as well. I keep forgetting about that because I do got a couple of people that be hitting me over there. My sister Angela be hitting me over here, so let me make sure I don't miss my sister Angela. This was from the first Epstein show from February 2nd. She says, good show as usual. Appreciate you, Angela. Thank you for that support, my sister. And I think that'll do it. I think that's it. Oh shit, somebody else just hit me on the Cash App and it didn't even notify me. Who might that be? Shout out to Howie, Mr. Nice One. Shout out to Mr. Nice One. Dropped a 12 piece on the Cash App. Appreciate you, Mr. Nice One. Thank you for that, sir. That's mighty kind, mighty awesome of you. Appreciate you. And anybody else that you know, feels like it's worth a buck, you know what I'm saying? Worth a donation, worth some financial support. I appreciate that. Thank you guys. And if you donate to the show after the show is over, I will definitely shout you out on the next show. So don't feel left out. All right. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.